What if James Gunn's DC Universe gave us the perfect Superman saga? Not just one film, but a multi-film arc, one that actually takes Superman from a grounded hero to a galactic legend, battles that actually test his strength, and enemies that challenge his heart as well. I mean, a journey that cements him as the foundation of the DC Universe. So, let's break it down. Four major films, one bonus multiverse event, and this is my dream Superman saga for the DCU. We begin with our first film. Let's just go ahead and call it Superman Power Dream. With this film, we begin with a young, established Superman shortly after the events of the latest film, but Metropolis loves him, but not everyone yet trusts him. So enters Rudy Jones, a janitor at Star Labs, who's exposed to alien energy and transformed into the iconic villain Parasite. Now, Parasite hasn't really been in any Superman media of the last few years. I think he's super underrated. The last thing I could think of is from the DC animated film Man of Tomorrow. I really feel like Parasite is super underutilized because he feeds off energy. The more he absorbs, the more addicted he becomes. Superman tries to stop him, but for the first time, he's losing power every time he gets close to an opponent. Now, this story shows Clark at his most vulnerable while facing a foe who doesn't want to conquer, just survive. I mean, it's about empathy, identity, and learning that Superman's greatest strength isn't heat vision or flight. It's his compassion. During the climax of the film, maybe we could see Superman fight Parasite with no powers, just outsmarting him and showing Rudy mercy in the end, reminding us that Superman doesn't just win with force, but with heart. And that's what sets him apart from other heroes. And speaking of other heroes, that kind of ties into my next film called Superman World's Finest. By the title, you can already kind of see where I'm going with here. Now we go bigger. Superman teams up with Batman, arguably the greatest or biggest superhero of all time. After the previous Snyderverse films, we get to see our iconic duo start out working together and not in conflict, but as allies against a terrifying threat, Brainiac, a hyper-intelligent AI infecting Earth's satellites, networks, and minds. But who says it has to be one enemy? Enter in his enforcer, Metallo, who is powered by kryptonite and programmed to kill Superman. Now, this could be like the Dark Knight meets Man of Steel. Brainiac's plan isn't domination, it's collection of the universe. Entire cities on Earth are vanishing, knowledge is being harvested, people are becoming data, and Superman's strength is pretty useless against a virus. But Batman, he's been preparing for threats like this his entire life. We see their philosophies clash. Clark believes in redemption, while Bruce believes in control and justice. But they grow to respect each other through action, and in the final battle, they bring down Brainiac together, Superman stopping Metallo on his own, while simultaneously, Batman cripples Brainiac's core. In the end, the public can see them as a true force, a partnership that isn't just iconic, but necessary. Because alone they're powerful, but together, these two are the world's finest people. But that also kind of brings me into another film called Superman Warworld. Now we leave Earth in this film. Somehow Superman is abducted and sent to the brutal gladiator planet known as Warworld, which is ruled by the villain known as Mongul. Here the strong survive, and the weak obey. Superman, who is now stripped of his powers because of a red sun generator, is forced to fight for his life. Now you kind of see the pattern here. All three of these films, I mentioned how Superman loses his powers to a certain degree. And it's because of course, him being super powerful and, the strongest hero of all time, arguably. But also, Superman's stories are often at their best when he is taken away from his power because it shows that his power doesn't define him as a hero. His power definitely defines him as the greatest hero, but even without it, Clark Kent is the hero. He's a man who is willing to do whatever it takes to help those around him. He'll always find a way. Back to this movie. In the pits, he isn't alone. He meets General Zod, imprisoned and broken, but not defeated. Now, he doesn't know who Zod is initially, so when Zod offers to team up, not as friends, but survivors, Superman finds the good in everyone, especially learning that there's another Kryptonian. He begins to trust him. But is this the right choice, or is Zod waiting to strike? Now, we know Zod's true intentions for the most part as fans, but you have to think, Superman being practically alone in the universe with not too many people from his planet around, and he finds someone else who is from his planet, who grew up there and knew the ethics and the morality and the life of Krypton, who is also imprisoned on this planet. He's going to do whatever it takes to find friendship and companionship in this person. And Superman inspires hope among Warworld's prisoners himself. He rallies them not just to escape, but to rise. The film builds up to a rebellion with Superman leading an army of gladiators in a battle for freedom. You get some brutal fights, emotional stakes, and I think Mongul is super underrated as a villain, so I would love to see him in this film. And the epic image of Superman holding the Warworld banner could be shown. Man, and during this entire time, Zod could find a way to somehow escape in the chaos, setting him up for future films or just cameos in the future. And Superman returns to Earth, a changed man because of what he's experienced, but now he's not just a hero. He's a symbol of resistance across the entire universe. So in the beginning, I mentioned a bonus film. And you know what? I think I'm going to call that Shadow Earth. Superman Shadow Earth. Now, all these films, I hope to see somehow in the new DCU. So let's take this saga beyond the stars and into the multiverse. A mysterious portal opens. Earth faces invasion from a dark mirror universe known as Earth 3, and leading the charge, who other than Ultraman, making his return as an evil version of Superman who rules with fear and not hope. Now, I'm going to be talking about some minor spoilers for the newest Superman film. So if you haven't seen it already, we know Ultraman's fate as he gets dragged into a black hole during the climax of that film. Now we find out he actually survived and ended up on his alternate Earth and became the leader of the Crime Syndicate alongside Owlman, Superwoman, Power Ring, Johnny Quick, and who are all twisted reflections of the Justice League. They don't want peace, they want to conquer, and Ultraman, he's everything Clark fears he could have become without the Kents. Now, Earth's heroes are overwhelmed. Even Batman struggles to match Owlman's intellect, but Superman leads the charge. He's not alone. In this, we can also have alternate versions of villains showing up as heroes. In that universe, Lex Luthor was right about Superman all along, and he helps and teams up as a good guy to defeat this new version of Superman. How awesome would that be to see Superman and Lex Luthor actually work together to face a common enemy? But Superman, like I said, he leads the charge, not just with power, but with inspiration as well. He shows the world and himself that Superman is a choice, and the climax is a battle across dimensions. Yeah, Superman versus Ultraman, Batman versus Owlman, you name it. It's really just hope versus tyranny. And a final shot of the multiverse starting to unravel, teasing crisis down the road and whatever future stories they want to tell. Now, each of these films tells a complete story, but together they show the evolution of Clark Kent. In Power Drain, he's a symbol of hope, learning restraint. In World's Finest, he balances optimism with realism. In the Warworld, he becomes a leader of the oppressed. And in Shadow Earth, he accepts his role as the planet's last line of defense. And the DCU can build around this. I mean, Power Drain hints at Lex Luthor and corrupt science. World's Finest connects to Gotham, Nightwing, and Bat Family spinoffs. And Warworld opens the cosmic side, introducing all new threats and allies. While Shadow Earth, that's your backdoor into the multiverse. I mean, cameos from alternate heroes, a Red Sun universe, maybe even tying into some of the Elseworld comics that exist. Heck, you can even try to throw in some Snyderverse stuff to kind of appease those fans years down the line. I mean, these aren't just Easter eggs, they're story seeds. Each film pushes Clark forward, not just in power, but in spirit. And that's the key, because these movies don't just show Superman saving the world. They show why the world is worth saving. And what makes this saga work isn't just the villains or the spectacle, it has to be Clark Kent himself. Too often, Superman is written as if he's untouchable, as if nothing can hurt him and nothing can shake him. But the beauty of these stories is that each film forces Clark to face something his powers just can't fix. And Power Drain is vulnerability. In World's Finest, it has to be the trust of the people around him. And in Warworld, it's about survival and helping defend others who can't help themselves. And in Shadow Earth, again, it's about choice. These aren't just super fights. They're mirrors held up to Clark's soul. Parasite makes him confront what it means to have his power stripped away, while Brainiac and Batman force him to wrestle with morality in the digital age. And Mongul makes him choose whether to inspire or to dominate. Ultraman is Clark's darkest shadow, a version of himself without love or compassion for humanity. And that's why this saga matters, because Superman isn't about being invincible, he's about being a human in spite of being Kryptonian. Now imagine the visuals, because each film has its own cinematic identity. Tied to Superman's journey, Power Drain feels grounded, almost Noir-inspired, with Metropolis drenched in neon as Parasite stalks the streets. World's Finest is sharp, sleek, and blends Gotham's gothic shadows with Metropolis's shining skyline. Now, Warworld has to be brutal, with gladiator battles shot like the movie Gladiator meets Mad Max Fury Road. In Shadow Earth, that's where we unleash cosmic horde, throwing some twisted mirror worlds, maybe even some comical planets out there, something that's just funny to look at. While Superman is standing, fighting against himself in a fight that feels almost biblical. Now, each of these films builds not just in scale, but in texture. You can start in the streets of Metropolis or end up in the infinite canvas of the multiverse. I mean, that escalation isn't just spectacle, it can be storytelling as well. It mirrors Clark's own growth from local protector to a universal legend. And that's what a Superman saga should be. Not just a string of blockbusters, but a myth in motion and a story that shows us through one man in a cape, hope is stronger than fear. But Superman is more than just a cape. He's an idea, a man who could rule, but chooses to serve, who could destroy, but chooses to save. I mean, he's the hero the world wants and the one we desperately need. So in a cinematic world full of anti-heroes, sarcasm, and destruction, these Superman films can restore hope, not just for Metropolis, but for the comic book industry as a whole. I mean, James Gunn, he has the vision, the heart, the weirdness, and the talent. So if anyone can do it again, it will be him. Now, this is the Superman saga all we get, but what about you? So I'm going to go ahead and say, let's leave it all in the comments down below. Which of these films you'd like to see first, if any, some ideas you might have for the future sagas of DC, and what do you believe is the actual future of Superman in this James Gunn universe? So subscribe for more comic deep dives and breakdowns on everything we love about heroes. And always remember, Superman isn't just the beginning, he's the foundation.